Alrighty then, sluts. This is Taylor, and everyone is always asking me in messages and comments. They're always saying, "Taylor, talk about your first time. Talk about your first time." And so I figured, you know what? What the hell? It'll be a good story. I'll just talk about my first time. A little bit of background information. It was in Colorado. It was actually with a big group of people, not just one other person or going solo or something like that. It was a big group of people, and we all had a great time doing it. It was a little messy at times. I would like to say that I was wearing enough clothes, so to speak, the whole time, but I'd be lying because sometimes I was just not protected at all against all of the harshness that could have come at me from putting myself in such a situation. But anyway, so yeah, let me just get into it now and talk to you guys about my first time skiing. And if you have some good first time skiing stories, hit me up and let me know because I think they're great. And I've been holding this one back, so I hope you enjoy. If you do, leave a rating. If you don't, leave a favorite. Bam, caught you in your own lie there. That didn't really make sense. Anyway, so this was, I believe, I was either 15 or 16, so either a freshman or sophomore in high school, and it was this big group trip, all right? And so it was on this big kind of, not a party bus or something like that, but it wasn't a little shitty school bus. It was one of those, Greyhound kind of transit buses that's pretty comfortable, has some TVs, not like nice TVs, like those glass screen boob tubes that like you can put your finger next to them and you feel the static coming off, and then you can shock the person next to you who's trying to sleep and they'll get kind of pissed. So that, yeah, not that I was doing that all the time or something, but that's what the kind of TVs they had. And so we get in. I live in St. Louis, Missouri, and we were going to somewhere in Colorado. And so it wouldn't have taken that exceedingly long, but on a bus, everything takes 10 times as long, especially when half of the people on the bus are female. And it seems like they had to stop to use the bathroom like more often than I would have liked, even though there was a toilet on the freaking bus. And so I guess it was just out of the question to ask them to sit in a little bit of guy pee. So sue me. It's difficult to pee on a bus, and I'm not going to bend down and touch that seat. It's nasty. Sorry. So anywho. So we're on the bus, there's a lot of us, and we get on, and I find out from a buddy of mine, because a bunch of my really close friends were there with me, they're like, oh, it's going to take like 15, 16 hours or something like that. And I was like, holy shit, I've driven this way with my dad before in our car, and I guess my dad was just speeding his ass off because we got there in like 10 hours or something. And so I'm like, oh my god, this is going to take forever. Thankfully, we left pretty late at night so we can get there at a reasonable time the next day on the afternoon. And so everybody's trying to go to sleep. I play a little bit of Pokemon on my Game Boy, and I talked to a buddy of mine who brought a bunch of melatonin. And melatonin is, yeah, it helps you sleep. It's a supplement to help you sleep. Your body naturally produces melatonin, your brain rather, and so this is just supplementing your already existing amount of melatonin. And so you're supposed to take like one of those, but I wanted to go to bed. I wanted to go out. I was going to be bored as shit. I knew it. There wasn't anything I wanted to do or anybody I wanted to talk to for 14 hours straight. I didn't want to play video games anymore. I just wanted to go to sleep. So I had him give me 4 of those. And then another buddy of mine, he had legitimate sleeping pills, and I don't know what they were called, maybe an Ambien, I have no idea, but foolishly, he was like, do you want one? And I was like, no, give me 2, man, and he's like, alright, I'm just going to take 1, so he took 1, and I took 2, in addition to those 4 melatonin, and so I can't recommend this by any means, this is probably a dumb thing to do, but it's not like you can hurt yourself with melatonin, at least I don't think so, so I took all those pills, and then I laid down, and it was one of those things where, you know how, when you see someone wake up from a movie, or wake up in a movie who's been knocked out, they kind of come in a haze and like, where am I? And they have to like kind of think about it and readjust. And then there's someone there like looking at them like they're like, oh, it's good to see you're awake. That's pretty much exactly what happened on the bus. I don't know why I gave that guy kind of like a bad semi-Russian accent. Sorry to my Russian fans. There are a dozen of you or so probably. But so yeah, I wake up and I am laying in the middle of the aisle. I didn't sleep in a seat. I don't remember where I fell asleep or how I got there, but right in the middle of the aisle between the 2 big rows of seats, I was just laying right in the middle. Nobody could get by. I was just a huge hindrance, and it probably looked like I was just killed there, and they were waiting till the next stop to drag my carcass off and give it to some precinct. I have no idea, but I was just laying there like a blanket, like kind of wrapped around one foot, just like laying there. Everybody else is awake pretty much, and I get up and I talk to my friend, and he's like, oh yeah, I mean, you were asleep for like 13 hours. We're like an hour away. And so that was basically just the happiest moment of a road trip in history because I slept the whole goddamn time, like pretty much start to finish, played like an hour of Pokemon, took all the pills, boom, out for the count, wake back up, an hour to acclimate myself to the altitude and all that shit, and the air pressure, which everybody was complaining about, but I haven't really noticed an issue from all the times I've been in Colorado. So, yeah, that was the first part. That was the bus ride when I took a few too many sleeping pills and then passed out and kind of monopolized the whole middle area of a bus for myself, which is pretty rude on like a 40, 50-person bus. I'm pretty bad at estimating the number of people who can be on buses. I know I should practice more, but maybe 40, 50 people, I have no idea. So then we get there, we get to this skiing resort. I had no idea how big mountains were. I had never seen one in real life at this point because I lived in Missouri. And if you live in Missouri, there are no mountains to be seen. Like like big hills stick out like a sore thumb around here. And so saw the mountains. It was super cool and awesome to see those for the first time. I get up. I don't even remember which mountain we were at. No, wait, I think we went to Copper Mountain. And since then, I usually go to Aspen or Snowmass, which is a ton of fun. I like those a lot more. But so we get there, we go to Copper Mountain. I get up to the very top of a green, and a green is like a learn to ski hill. And so all of my friends had previous experience with this kind of stuff, so they just went up, started doing their own skiing. And I went with like a few girls and one of like the teachers that came with us, or I don't even know if it was a teacher, probably just an older dude who came. Sounds kind of sketchy. So we're headed up there. We get on the green. I ski down, and compared to these people I was with, I looked like a goddamn pro because, I mean, I know how to skate, and apparently if you know how to skate, a lot of it is kind of the same muscle memory, of course, adapted a little bit, but you know how to do it. And so I was like, screw this, I'm fine. I'm going up to ski with my friends. So met them at the bottom of the lift again. This was after like 30, 45 minutes of me actually trying to learn how to do this stuff and just thinking it was so easy because it was a green. There was barely even a slope. You know, I had to push myself down the hill, basically. Even calling it a hill is a bit generous. Like I wouldn't call it a green run. I'd call it a green slow decline down until you hit like 8 miles an hour, then you just stop. And that was pretty much it. And so I hop on this gondola. You know, I'm ready to go. I'm there with my friends, and I'm kind of nervous. You know, I'm a little bit nervous with all of them because I had never skied before. And they're like, "Let's just go down these blues." And I'm like, "Okay, blue. That sounds like a pretty unintimidating color. That's fine. Blue's good as long as we don't go on black." Because I mean, it seems like in every sport, like the black run, or maybe that's just skiing, and it's kind of poisoned my mind against like black diamonds and whatnot. But I know those are the rough ones. I can do those now, all right. But I mean, I'm not a big skier. I go like twice a year for that. And so I hop up there, get on a few blue runs with them, and we went all the way to the top of the mountain, essentially. Like, all the way to the top of the mountain. Sorry for having such weird cadence there. Just want to stress that. And which was a terrible mistake. So basically, we get up to the top of the mountain, and I have really never skied on a mountain before, and I'm already at the top of it, and I'm like, well, shit. And so they start going, and I don't make it 20 feet before I just eat shit. Just like, bam, just get way more speed than I thought I was going to have to take, and because I hadn't skied enough, I was still trying to stop like I would stop with ice skates. You know, I was twisting it a little bit too hard and putting a lot more pressure than I should have on my back, on my heel, and so I was kind of like falling back and like constantly having yard sales, which is when all of your shit just falls out of your hands and you just have a huge, embarrassing just collapse. And so intentionally, I made it so my friends and I had to go down a way so I wasn't directly under a gondola and just falling, making an ass out of myself every 15 feet. And so we're going around. We finally get to about halfway down the mountain. Keep in mind, it would take me, 15 minutes to get down this mountain if you're an adept skier who just kind of wants to go quickly, but it took me like twice that just to get down half the mountain because I was stumbling just all the time, just constantly stumbling, constantly falling. And it got to the point where if I fell, I didn't even notice it was a bad fall unless I lost my skis or my pole. So if I just fell down and ate shit and just like had snow crusted all over my face, my cheeks red and burning, my eyes hurting because I didn't have goggles and the sun was shining right off of the snow, my hair just caked to my forehead in solid ice, I would get up and be like, all right, good for you, Taylor, you're learning because you didn't have let all your shit fly off of you. And so then we get to the last part of the run. So this has been like 45, 50 minutes at this point. And before you get down to the gondola again, there's this huge, really steep hill that goes straight down. And then there's a little bridge that you ski over. And then you kind of stop immediately after that. And you can get in line for the gondola again. The whole point is that everyone can see you from in line at the gondola. It's like everyone in line there can see you skiing down and see you go. And so if you fall there, it's a little bit embarrassing. And so it was a packed line, just a few, like 100 people down there probably, and the gondola's running. And I foolishly, because I really wasn't paying that much attention to other people, I was really just trying to get skiing down. And so I get up to the top of this like hill, which now if I look back on it was a petty little hill that shouldn't have intimidated me or anything, but I'm like, I'm going to do it. I can do it. And so I start going. In the parlance of South Park, I was French frying when I should have been pizzaing, and I was going so fast, lost control, and just the worst skiing fall that I've ever seen on one of these like hills was just me. I just immediately go forward, my skis come up over my head just plants like an ostrich into the ground, my body flips up, my back like cracks so uncomfortably. I had those wrapped things around my wrist to keep my poles there, and I was like spinning so fast that like centripetal force just pulled it off and just boom, just gone. And so I lost all my stuff. My friends are like behind me like, oh my god, this is fucking brutal dealing with him right now. We had no idea he'd be this shitty. And but that was really the fall that gave me the experience to get it down. And so as I was falling on that one though, unlike the standard times where you fall and your ski just kind of dislodges from the boot and you have to go chase it, the whole binding that held the ski to the boot was just shorn off, just completely torn off 100%. So I'm like, well, shit. So I had to leave the ski area, go back to where I got the shit rented from on a bus, then get that replaced. And they're like, oh, well, it's a good thing you got your insurance, but it won't cover any further insurance stuff. And I was like, well, shit. And so the next day I go back, really trying to be confident, and I was immediately a lot better. But then I ended up going down again, having a wicked fall in the same area, and this wasn't as bad as the previous fall, but it was bad enough and awkward enough that it broke one of my skis. And imagine, this is over a 2-day period. I'd been in Colorado for like a day and a half, and I'd already broken 2 skis, which is apparently very rare, so my bad on that one. Maybe I just put way too much weight on this right ski. But the ski was like a little bit just cracked and like messed up, and the bindings, the same thing, was kind of like wiggly, but it wasn't like wiggly like you could just screw the screws in again. It was wiggly like it cracked a little bit, and so there's no way that you're going to get it really tight in that hole again. And so thought of way too many euphemisms there, and it threw me off track. So I'm like, oh shit. So I get to the bottom of the hill again, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to pay like $500 or like $400 or $500 to fix these skis. There's no way. This sucks. There's no way. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And so because I rented skis, and this is something I'm not particularly proud of, but because I rented skis, there were a ton of other people who, if you're at a ski resort and you go eat, you leave your skis outside, and it's kind of just like an honor system, which I've horrifically violated here, where I saw another guy who had the exact same skis as me, and they had your name written on them. So it said like Peter on his, and it said Taylor on mine. And so what I did is I just rubbed off the name on my broken ski and rubbed off Peter on his okay ski, and then just switched the 2 skis while he was in there having a nice meal. And then I ran back to one of the people who was in charge in our group, and I was like, I need a pen. They forgot to write Taylor on my other ski. And they're like, oh, all right. Only problem is this guy had little feet that were a little bit smaller than mine. My boots still fit in there, thankfully, but it was a little bit awkward. So yeah, I guess that pretty much sums up my entire first time. I hope you guys enjoyed that. As you all know, first times can be awkward and it's a little bit uncomfortable. I mean, it was a lot wetter than I thought it would be. I can tell you that for sure. But yeah, tell me about your first time skiing, and I'd love to hear it. And I love you.